Last summer, in August of 2022, I did a series of videos when I was in Oklahoma City about the Ascension, how the Mayans actually were correct, and a whole bunch of things going on in the world, such as issues with Russia, issues with gay marriage, issues with all of these things, oil, energy, planets, etc. Well, I went to repost that on TikTok because I had spliced them all together. It had only been on there maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and I got a copyright strike for my own voice. So I went ahead and deleted it because I don't want that copyright strike. But guess what? Here it is on YouTube for you. You're welcome.
Hey guys, I've had a lot of people asking me lately what I think about everything going on in the world spiritually and this ascension and all this other stuff. So I thought I'd take you down the rabbit hole and explain it to you. Now I'm going to let you know right off the bat, this is going to be a series because there's too much to fit in a 3-minute video. And I know y'all in your short damn attention spans, you're not going to watch a 10-minute video. So I'm going to break it up into like 4 3-minute videos. But I digress. So let's talk about these ascension waves. So the first phase of this ascension actually started in 2012. I mean, the Mayans were right, y'all. So between 2012 and 2022, there's so many major things that have happened. But let's start with 2012 up to 2019. First of all, there's political unrest all over the world. Obama is reelected. Conservatives and liberals are at each other's throats about voting rights, all of this stuff as the world watches it just implode and go up in flames. You have the beginnings of the failing of democracy. Then you have Sandy Hook, Aurora, and shootings, as well as bombings and things around the world that show people they're no longer safe anywhere. Enter in the unrest. Then you have the transit of Venus that happens in 2012, which is where Venus goes between the sun and the earth. I know, it doesn't sound that important, but it is. You have Putin reelected again for good, and we land a rover on Mars. Now I know, again, you guys are like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with it? Well, did none of y'all watch fucking Star Trek? Like, you shoot the things up into space and the aliens see it and go, oh, fuck, they landed on another planet. We should take notice even more. Since then, up to 2019, here's some of the highlights. You have rules that are put into place by Obama for environmental concerns overturned by Trump when Trump wins the election, thus widening another massive political unrest, putting party against party, person against person, family member against family member. The Supreme Court upholds same-sex marriage, causing even more unrest, and widening that chasm between friends, family, and more. Oil crashes, oil goes up. Oil crashes, oil goes up. The U.S. has an over 100-year supply of oil, yet is importing it from other places. We also have record-breaking energy use around the world, with more demands for oil and for other environmentally friendly ways of producing energy, which are then shot down by multiple governments. Because money. In fact, the world even signed the Paris Agreement into place with all kinds of environmental restrictions, plans, etc., to which Trump pulls the U.S. out of. However, all of us were laughing that, 2012 and this huge thing with the Mayans, it was bullshit. Nothing really happened. So, there's your first part of this ascension issue. We're going to talk about the second one in the next video. And I'm sounding crazy sitting in a little witch house in Oklahoma City. Yeah, follow me again. Let's go down in part 2. All right, you ready for part 2 of this ascension? We're going to fast forward to 2019. So 2019 is the second phase in this worldwide Earth ascension, whatever you want to call it. Start with Brexit, massive trade wars, talks of nuclear war and nuclear arms race with Iran, North Korea, the US, the UK, Australia, Russia. All of us, we need the nukes. Then you have a mass immigration of those trying to escape the violence in South America straight up through the border of the United States. Again, massive political unrest, brother against brother, family member against family member, and so on. And you have shit in the Persian Gulf starting to get flared up. Then the U.S. House impeaches Trump. India elects someone who pushes Hinduism, making the country one religion after a very long time. Now, I'm not saying that India is one complete religion, but look it up. There's also mass protests around the world for women's rights, human rights, minority rights, animal rights, all of this bullshit that's been trampled on for years. People are starting to wake up. Then you have this little thing called the Amazon. which after decades and decades of deforestation catches fire and burns. Y'all that don't remember biology or zoology or any of the things, that have the ologies in them and about the rainforest, that's kind of the Earth's lungs. Y'all just fucking gave the Earth lung damage. Dumb. And then here's a huge one. You ready? I mean, not that burning up the Earth's lungs wasn't huge, but this one's huge. You ready? The U.S. and Russia have this little thing called the International Nuclear Forces Treaty, to which U.S. says, yeah, fuck you, I'm out. That makes for great friends. Not to mention all of the political upheaval of overturned laws, executive orders, and so on here in the U.S., thus weakening the face of democracy around the world. Because if the U.S. is faltering, who else is going to be able to stand up, right? So that's just the second phase. My next video, let's talk about the third phase and the little thing called 2020. I think it's funny that I stopped that right then on 2.20. I'm just saying it's funny. But I digress. All right, let's talk about 2020 in the next one, in the third phase of this ascension. Third time's a charm, right? Let's talk about the third phase of this bullshit ascension that we're going through, because at this time, I'm kind of saying it's bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling shenanigans. But here we are. So let's talk about 2020. That magical year, the one that we all thought was going to be like the 1920s. I mean, it truthfully kind of was. So, Trump is acquitted. Oil prices plummet again, and then Russia pulls itself from a worldwide oil pact. Do you see where I'm going with the oil and the environmental stuff here? Now, the fight for climate change and to save the environment really heats up, and there's a massive split again. You have people that believe in the climate change, and you have people that don't believe that anything's really changing at all. They don't believe in global warming or anything like that. Now you have China that comes in and asserts itself as a massive world power. You also have George Floyd, who was martyred, thus driving forward the racial divide once more. And we have the funnest thing ever, COVID. Now, no matter what you thought about COVID, what side you're on, whatever, here's what COVID did to the world. It caused a massive awakening, because suddenly you've got to face your own mortality. Now we have this massive shift in the world and people waking up. Now, not everybody is, mind you, but that split between those that are awake and those that are not is growing wider and wider. You now have pagan practices and holistic practices on the rise. Hell, look at witch talk. Then you have Biden winning the election, beating Trump out. Enter again political unrest. And not just a little, but a lot. And on a massive world stage. The world is watching everything America does right now and laughing with their bucket of popcorn. We all had such high hopes for 2020 and ugh. So that's just the third phase. The next phase we're going to talk about is the fourth phase in 2021. We're also going to talk about what's going on now. All right, so you ready for the next phase in the ascension and what's going on? Okay, remember all those talks about climate change and oil and nuclear treaties being broken? Well, 2020 sees the nuclear arms race ramp back up between Russia, North Korea, Iran, the US, the UK, Australia, etc. We also now have supply chain fears, which puts in place fears about basic securities, basic needs that people around the world enjoy. There's mysterious fires at manufacturing plants, at food processing plants. Cargo ships are lost at sea, set on fire, sunk. And all of this other cargo is just held up at the dock, customs, indefinitely. You have wars around the world that begin to ramp up, such as the Ethiopian Civil War, Taliban coming back into power, and more. You have a massive shift of global democratic erosion, and the world sees the U.S. Capitol overrun. Voting rights are restricted, called into question, and states fight states over who's president, who's governor, who's mayor, who's in charge. And while all this was going on, did you guys even know that there were 5 different countries around the world that were taken over in military coups? Bet you didn't. Look it up. This continues another massive divide, both in the US and around the world. 2020 also sees the rise of vaccine mandates. And yes, that's going to be important here in a minute. Because don't you remember my body, my choice? I do. So now let's move into 2022 and the fourth phase. So first of all, in early 2022, the Earth began this great movement to where it's the closest to the sun that it's been in a long time and won't be again until 2117 or some shit like that. The sun also goes into this 11-year high on its cycle. It's got severe PMS. We have 3 supermoons, 4 eclipses. Google announces that it has time travel. Google it. Then NASA witnesses 2 black holes that actually rip space-time. Finally makes it to Earth. Then you have the government and the CIA admitting that aliens are real. Well, yeah, they're watching us shoot shit into space. And the beginning of this year saw the rise of minorities and women who are taking our power back, but yet divided severely at the same time. Enter June 24th. Planetary alignment, which won't happen again for a very long time, like none of us are going to be alive. Schumann resonance has a massive blip that same morning, and the world wakes up to the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade, sending the U.S. into a massive spiral. Y'all ready to know what all that means? Because that was a lot. Well, I guess you'll have to check out my next video because I'm out of time. So here we go on to what all of that means. On a world stage, you have all of these things going on in a sleight of hand motion. So you have all of this shit that doesn't really matter being touted in the news and everything. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. While other people who have long-term goals are sliding things in under the rug. You have people that have had a massive awakening who have gifts and abilities that are going through the fucking roof. None of y'all see X-Men? Like, what the fuck? Not only are you guys trying to discount the people that have gifts and abilities, now you're trying to take their rights away. Women, minorities, etc. To make it where only one race, one gender has power. The same one that has corrupted Christianity, the Bible, and made a mass marketing effect out of religion. So even though these last few videos were just highlights of the last 10 years, 12 years, do you see all the shifts? Do you see where everything has been shattered and people have been placed against each other without even realizing it was happening? Do you see where the rise of holistic and shamanic and pagan abilities are coming from? Do you see where the rise of minority and women empowerment, wanting everything to actually be equal as we've been told our whole lives that it is? You see all that stuff? Well, you have 5 planets that just aligned during a Saturn retrograde, which is all about karma. So hey, let's overturn Roe versus Wade and plunge all of the world back 50 years or more. But here's the thing, here's what you did. This massive ascension has split the world and will continue to split the world. You have those that are awake, that have abilities, that have powers, that will ascend and will be able to use these powers. And you will have people that continue to live in the norm. But the problem is the people that continue to live in the norm and the people that have the agenda are going to have to do something to quell all of those with abilities that can fix the world. Enter in that nuclear arms race. Because if y'all haven't paid attention, there's been a lot of talk out of Russia about nuclear armament, about nuclear war, about World War III, and where they'd strike first. I don't know about y'all, but that seems like poking the bear. And not just with a finger, with like a, 10-foot pipe. So yes, we're going through an ascension, and yes, we're nearing the end of this 4th phase. This is why we all feel like something is wrong, something is coming. We all feel very uneasy all the time. Yeah, we have no idea what it is, and we can't prepare for it because we have no idea what it is. So all I can say, guys, is that's my take on it. I see the big picture. You should too. At this point, all you can do is just hold on to your ass because none of us knows what's fixing to happen next.